Here is your long, emotional, smooth-paced story with a strong hook, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, no headings, plain paragraphs, and written in a way that holds viewers to the end for a YouTube narration. Okay, everyone at the gala laughed the moment he walked in, his worn-out suit, his shy daughter clutching his hand, and his quiet eyes that tried not to show how much the whispers hurt. But not a single person in that glittering hall knew the truth. Before the night ended, the richest woman in the city would step forward, and her words would silence every voice in the room, rewriting his life forever. Chapter 1. Ethan never planned to attend the gala. Single dads didn't exactly belong in a ballroom filled with crystal chandeliers, million-dollar smiles, and gowns that cost more than he made in a year. But the invitation had arrived with a handwritten note from the charity organization his daughter Mia attended for after-school tutoring. "Family's welcome," it said. And Mia had looked at him with hopeful eyes he could never refuse. So he borrowed an old suit from a neighbor, patched the pocket himself, and prayed no one would notice the fraying seams. Mia wore a simple blue dress that she'd picked from a thrift store 2 years ago, but she'd spun around in it as if it sparkled. When they stepped into the ballroom, Ethan felt every stare like a needle. Men in velvet blazers whispered behind champagne glasses. Women wearing diamonds nudged each other and snickered. Someone murmured, not quietly enough, "Who let that in here?" Ethan pretended not to hear. He squeezed Mia's hand and whispered, "Just stay close to me, okay? We're here to enjoy, not to fit in." But Mia looked around, confused. "Daddy, why are they looking at us like that?" He swallowed hard. "Because we're new here." The truth was uglier. They looked at him like he didn't belong. Like poverty was contagious. Across the hall, the hostess of the night, Isabella Sterling, stood on the stage, billionaire heiress, tech genius, and the woman everyone tried to impress. She looked elegant, powerful, untouchable. Ethan made sure not to stare too long. People like her lived in a different universe. Ethan guided Mia to the refreshment table, but even there, he felt eyes following him. 2 men near the chocolate fountain chuckled, speaking just loud enough, "That suit is older than the chandelier. Bet he came for the free meal. And brought his kid? Embarrassing." Ethan's jaw tightened. He turned his face, shielding Mia from the comments. "Pick anything you like," he told her softly. She reached for a cupcake, just one. She was always careful, always considerate. And that broke him a little more. While trying to keep his dignity, Ethan accidentally knocked over a glass tower of water goblets. They crashed loudly, echoing through the hall. Silence followed, sharp, cruel, heavy. Then came the laughter. It rolled through the room like a wave, merciless and cold. People covered their mouths but didn't hide their amusement. Ethan bent down to help staff pick up the pieces, humiliation burning through his skin. Mia knelt beside him, whispering, "Daddy, it's okay," but it wasn't okay. Not for him. Not for her. When Ethan stood up again, he realized the entire ballroom was still staring, and then, from the stage, the billionaire hostess stepped down, heads turned. Murmurs spread. People straightened their posture, instantly nervous, because Isabella Sterling was walking directly toward the man everyone else had just mocked. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't understand why she was coming. He didn't understand anything at all, but the moment she stopped in front of him, her eyes were soft, not condescending, not pitying, soft, and that terrified him even more. Chapter 2. Isabella knelt down, not before the crowd, not before the cameras, but before Mia, who still held her father's hand tightly. "That's a brave choice," Isabella said, pointing gently at the cupcake. "The blue sprinkles are the best ones." Mia blinked, surprised. "Really?" Isabella smiled warmly. "Absolutely." People around them shifted uncomfortably, their whispers fading. No one expected the most powerful woman in the room to give attention to the man they just laughed at. Isabella then rose to her full height and looked directly at Ethan. "I'm Isabella," she said. "And you are?" He tried to steady his voice. "Ethan. Ethan Cole." "Well, Ethan," she said loud enough for the room to hear, "thank you." He froze. "For what?" She turned gracefully to face the crowd, her voice carrying like a bell, "For reminding everyone here what this event is supposed to be about. Community. Support. Humanity. And most importantly, respect." Silence fell across the hall. Isabella continued, her tone sharper. "Tonight was meant to honor families who work hard, who sacrifice, who show strength every day. And yet some of you thought mockery was appropriate. She glanced around, and several guests lowered their eyes. If anyone should feel embarrassed right now, it isn't him. The room shrank with shame. Ethan felt Mia squeeze his hand again, but this time with pride. Then Isabella turned back to him. May I ask you something? His throat tightened. Sure. She took a breath. Would you sit at my table tonight? Both of you. The entire ballroom reacted, gasping, whispering, disbelieving. Ethan shook his head instinctively. I don't want to trouble you. We're fine in the back. No, she said softly. You're not going to hide at the back anymore. Not tonight. Her eyes held something he didn't expect, understanding. As if she'd lived a life where people judged her too, just in a different way. Ethan finally whispered, okay. Thank you. Isabella extended her hand and led them through the crowd. And something incredible happened. People parted for him. The same people who had mocked now stepped aside, awkward, humbled. At the table, Mia sat beside Isabella, who chatted with her like she was the most important person in the room. For once, Ethan didn't feel invisible. He felt seen, respected, and when Isabella took the stage again later, her speech ended with a line that made Ethan look up sharply. Greatness isn't measured by wealth or status, she said, her eyes finding his across the room. But by kindness, humility, and the courage to show up, even when you feel small. By the end of the night, people approached Ethan to apologize. Others thanked him for coming. A few asked about his story, his daughter, his life. He had walked into the gala feeling like a mistake. He walked out believing he belonged. As they left, Isabella met him at the door. Ethan, she said quietly, don't let their voices define you. You stood here tonight with more dignity than anyone else. He nodded slowly. Thank you. For everything. She smiled. I didn't do it for them. I did it because people like you remind me why I built my foundation in the first place. Ethan felt something warm bloom in his chest, something like hope, something like possibility. As he walked Mia to the car, he heard her tiny voice say, Daddy, tonight felt like magic. He smiled. It was. And deep down, he knew the truth. The magic hadn't come from the chandeliers or the glamour. It came from one moment, one person, who chose to stand up when everyone else sat quietly and watched, and that choice changed everything.